So tell me if this hasn't ever happened to you, huh? You're driving on your Ferrari and you're pushing like 100 miles an hour down like a dark country road, right? And you got a couple of hookers in the passenger seat, right? And you've done a few lines of coke, maybe half a fifth of Jack Daniels, right? And you're just high as a kite. You're going way too fast, and you know how things are going to end up. They're going to end up badly, right? I mean, either some cop car is going to show up, mm, or perhaps, going down this country road at 100 miles an hour, right? You're going to hit some poor dumb idiot who is walking his dog and just send him flying, dead, of course. Or you yourself are going to, lose control, and God knows what's going to happen to the car, to the hookers, to yourself, I mean, you know those kinds of nights, right? What do you do? Hmm? In that kind of situation, honestly, what do you do? Well, it's very obvious what you do. You reach over and grab the back of the neck of one of the hookers and shove her face into your crotch and do another line of coke, take another slug of Jack Daniels, and hit that gas pedal a little bit harder and push that Ferrari up to 130. Hell, screw it, 140. And just see what happens, man, because you know it's going to end badly. So you might as well just, go for broke. You know those nights? Well, see, that's what's going on with our leadership in the West. See, I've been trying to understand, all the insanity that's been going on. Mm? The self-delusion about the situation in Ukraine, which is starting to break, the self-delusion about the economic situation, inflation is transitory, the self-delusion that you can provoke China and everything is going to be hunky-dory and, you're not going to have any blowback whatsoever, all of this delusional thinking and all of this doubling down, man. That's the thing. That's the thing that I'm like, whoa, Nelly, put on the brakes a little bit, or at least take your foot off the gas pedal. You know what I'm saying? But no, they keep on shoving down that gas pedal, and snorting a little more coke, and just keep on going with the hookers. What's going on? And I was thinking about it, and it's really obvious. Okay, what's obvious is that people in the leadership classes understand that it's over. It's over. We're gonna crash. The whole thing is going to just go up in a ball of smoke, in a fireball rather. It's going to get ugly. And I think that the leadership class has realized this for a while now. They don't realize it perhaps on a level that they can articulate, but they sense it. And so that's why all of a sudden you have all these crazy ass ideas that are percolating among the leadership classes, which, 20, 30 months before would have been a lot more sensible, but now they're like crazy, like Janet Yellen, whom, whatever you might think of her, I never thought of her as just irresponsible and foolish. She, out in some conference in Scotland, is saying that we have to spend $150 trillion to revamp and rejigger the entire global economy. Like, what are you talking about? You're out of your damn mind, I mean, this is 5 times the US's yearly GDP on some global rejiggering of the economy. And like, what are you talking about? And there's all this talk of like central bank digital currency, and they're openly talking about how, it's all going to be to control everything. What the hell, man? And, this effort to get NATO and the United States into this war against Russia here in Ukraine, get boots on the ground and no-fly zones and all this craziness, right? I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I do suspect that in the Pentagon, there are a few guys, a few generals, a few people who have a little bit of common sense, rather, who are trying desperately to rein in the insanity going on over there. And, rather than have American boots on the ground in Ukraine, which would be crazy, it would be World War III. I mean, it would be open World War III, right? They've sort of like been able to steer this insanity towards China. And now they're getting ready for like a blowout with China, man. I know that in the Federal Reserve, A little backstory. Back in 2010, I thought to myself, with the whole quantitative easing thing that started up then, especially quantitative easing 2, I thought, oh man, this is just going to blow up in inflation, right? And I argued this in a series of essays that got a lot of traction. And because of it, I wound up being, a sort of like email friends with a couple of economists at the Federal Reserve. One went back to the private sector, the other stayed on in the Federal Reserve. And I've kept in touch with them, see? And they were the ones who told me how the Federal Reserve was desperately trying to prevent the White House from disconnecting Russia from SWIFT. And, well, that happened, okay? But now these guys, these economists are telling me, that now they're like doubling down on the Fed. Yeah, they're going to raise rates, but also going to suck up even more bonds for cash. I mean, put more cash out into the world. At this time, if you don't know it, at this time, in terms of dollar value, the Federal Reserve holds close to 40% of all 10 to 30-year Treasury bonds. It's monetized 40% of the 10 to 30-year Treasury bonds. That's an enormous amount of money, right? And they're doubling down on this. I mean, they're all going crazy. And I've been trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Is there like something in the water? Maybe in the vaccine they put something a little bit extra. What the hell happened? And I've come to the conclusion that it's like, when you're Hunter Biden and you've had a hell of a weekend, right? And you're driving in that Ferrari with those two hookers and you're coked up and drunk and it's going to end ugly. It's just going to end badly, right? With maybe 2 dead hookers, and you just arrested and all kinds of embarrassment and people are going to have to pay off. I mean, it's going to be ugly, right? And so I think that fundamentally what's going on is that the elites recognize this. The people who are running things, they, at some, reptile level of their hindbrain, they understand that the whole thing is going to crash. And so rather than try to fix things, well, there's that saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. It's been ascribed to Rahm Emanuel, but, I remember hearing a phrase like that, if not that phrase itself, back in the 90s. So I don't think it's Rahm Emanuel. I think he's just taking credit for it, but it doesn't really matter. The point is, see, a lot of these people think this way. They're thinking that, well, this crisis is coming, so we might as well take advantage of it to implement a whole host of things that we want. That whole, you will own nothing and you will be happy. This $150 trillion rejiggering of the global economy, this idea of central bank digital currency, which will basically give bureaucrats the ability to just steal your money like that, just lickety split. They just flip a switch and your little nest egg of 100K is just gone forever and never coming back, man. That's what digital currency means. It means that they can just take money or give money at random to anybody. Everybody becomes their slave. That is the idea of a central bank digital currency. It's to make you a slave, okay? But anyway, see, all of these crazy ideas, all of these crazy programs, we're going to have a lot more of them. Now, this video is not on a specific topic. It's just to tell you that as we get closer to this crash, or let me phrase that, because the crash is ongoing. This past month of May, insofar as the equity markets are concerned, it's a bloodbath, right? And some are saying, oh, well, it's coming back. Oh, dude, man, it's a dead cat bounce. Anybody can see that, okay? the collapse that we just saw in May, it's just going to continue. And other things are going to be collapsing. And just look at the state of American cities, for crying out loud. They look third world. They look collapsing. See? When the whole thing starts to collapse, you see it everywhere. You don't have to look far for symptoms of collapse. You see it everywhere. It's happening. It's happening now. I'm sorry I'm laughing about it. It's funny, man. I mean, come on. You got to have a little sense of humor about the approaching apocalypse of our civilization. Yeah. But anyway, be that as it may, the point I want to emphasize is that, see, as we move through this crisis, this crash, because this societal, civilizational collapse is slow motion, okay? As we watch it unfold, we're going to see more and more desperate and insane programs arise. I heard one program that they wanted to have replace all automobiles on the face of the planet by 2030 with electric vehicles, right? See, that's not physically possible. It isn't. With current technology, there is simply not enough rare earth metals on the face of the planet that can be reached, at least on this planet, for all the batteries that would be needed for all of the vehicles on the earth to be replaced by electric vehicles. It's just not physically possible, and they're pushing this insanity. I mean, just thinking to yourself that, I want to change every car by 2030 to be electric, that's dumb enough as it is, But, as an idea, but, looking at it, even just the casual, practical aspects of it make it just so impossible, but they're not looking at them, at those practical limitations. And it's an issue that is societal, it's economic, it's everything. They're going to push to take away your guns. They're going to push to cram down this critical race theory nonsense on your kids and this gender ideology insanity on your kids. They're going to push and push and push because, see, ultimately it's a symptom of desperation. That's the key issue. All of this doubling down, all of this craziness, these crazy ideas, and this push to get their way, it's desperation. And see, the closer we get to the total collapse, the more desperate and insane the measures are going to be. Because that's all, that happens in every case. When you start getting to the collapse, when you start getting to the real shitty part of the whole story, people start going crazy in their panic. And in their panic, well, see, people in leadership positions, they're not immune to panic because they're human beings just like you and me. They might despise us, because they do. The leadership classes in the West despise their own people because they don't feel that they share anything with the average everyday person of their own country. And that's how divorced and detached they've become from our own society. The leaders of our society despise the people who make up our society. But that's for another video. The point is that these people who are running things now, they understand at a fundamental level that everything is collapsing. And so they're going to keep on doubling down, and it's going to get worse and worse, and their ideas are going to get more insane, and their efforts at repression are going to get even more insane. If you thought that, think of the past 2 years and the kind of repression and censorship that we have seen, how people are unpersoned, how people's bank accounts are stolen by the government, how the American government is literally in the business of piracy on the high seas. Hey, matey, they really are. Can you imagine any of this insanity 2 years ago? Of course not. And so think of the distance we have traveled in 2 years. Forget about the pandemic. I'm talking about the craziness of mentality, of the willingness to do whatever it takes to stop any kind of dissent and to just rush forward. And they all think that, never let a good crisis go to waste. And so all of their insane pet projects are going to come out of the woodwork, come out of their notebooks, come out of the crazy little attic in their skulls, and it's just going to be spewed out there. The crazier, the better. Then that's the nutty part. These ideas and programs they're going to start to implement and shove down people's throats, they're going to get crazier and crazier. It's just, see, this is what it looked like at the end of the Roman Empire, man. We're there, okay? Or let me rephrase it, we're not there yet, but we're starting. We're in the good bit at the beginning. And soon enough, we're going to get the Civil War.